First contact fumble. The gleaming corridors of the Galactic Council's space station hummed with activity as delegates from 100 worlds bustled about, preparing for the most significant diplomatic event in centuries. Humanity, the newest addition to the intergalactic community, was about to make its official debut. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez straightened her crisp navy suit, took a deep breath, and strode purposefully towards the main conference chamber. As Earth's chosen representative, the weight of her species' future rested squarely on her shoulders. She couldn't afford to make a single mistake. "You've got this, Elena," she muttered to herself, rounding a corner. "Just stick to the script, don't mention the Twitter incident, and oof." The air rushed from her lungs as she collided with what felt like a wall of muscle. Strong hands steadied her, and she found herself staring up at the craggy face of General Thax, the Xin military attaché. His feline eyes narrowed, whiskers twitching in barely concealed irritation. "My apologies, General," Elena stammered, straightening her jacket. "I should have been watching where I was going." Thax's tail lashed once, then stilled. "No harm done, Ambassador," he rumbled. "Though perhaps you humans should consider enhancing your sensory capabilities if you hope to navigate the galactic stage." Elena bit back a retort. The Xin were notoriously prickly, and she couldn't afford to antagonize them before the conference even began. "I'll take that under advisement," she said instead, flashing her most diplomatic smile. "If you'll excuse me, I need to prepare for the opening ceremonies." She slipped past the towering felinoid, her heart racing. That had been too close. One wrong word, and humanity's first impression could have been irreparably damaged. She needed to focus. The conference chamber doors loomed ahead, guarded by a pair of lanky, blue-skinned Arcturians. Elena nodded to them, taking another steadying breath as she placed her hand on the bioscanner. The doors hissed open, revealing a cavernous room filled with tiered seating. Delegates from across the galaxy milled about, their varied forms a testament to the diversity of life in the universe. Elena made her way to the human delegation's assigned seats, smiling and nodding at the curious looks she received. She was just about to sit down when a commotion near the entrance caught her attention. "What in the name of the cosmic egg is that creature doing here?" The shrill voice belonged to Ambassador Zilks of the Silicon Collective, a gelatinous being that shimmered with indignation. Elena turned to see what had caused the uproar and felt her stomach drop. Stumbling into the chamber, looking utterly lost and more than a little terrified, was a human. But not just any human. It was Dave Wilson, the Hapeless 8 technician who had been specifically instructed to stay far, far away from the diplomatic proceedings. "Oh no," Elena groaned, already moving to intercept the intruder. "Dave, what are you doing here?" Dave's eyes widened in relief at the sight of a familiar face. "Ambassador Rodriguez, thank goodness. I was trying to find the restroom, but I think I took a wrong turn, and then another wrong turn, and then I ended up here, and—" Silence. The booming voice echoed through the chamber, instantly quelling all conversation. Supreme Arbiter Xon, the Galactic Council's highest authority, rose from his seat at the center of the room. His crystalline form pulsed with barely contained energy as he fixed his gaze on Dave. "Who dares to disrupt these sacred proceedings?" Xon demanded. Elena stepped forward, her mind racing. This was a disaster. Unauthorized entry into the council chamber was a grave offense. If she didn't handle this carefully, humanity's hopes for acceptance into the galactic community could be dashed before they even began. "Supreme Arbiter," she said, bowing low. "I apologize for this interruption. This is Dave Wilson, a member of our technical support staff. He seems to have gotten lost on his way to the facilities." Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. Some sounded amused, others outraged. Xon's crystalline form flickered, a sign Elena recognized as confusion. "Lost," the Arbiter repeated. "Your species lacks the ability to navigate enclosed spaces." Dave, apparently oblivious to the gravity of the situation, piped up. "Oh, it's not that. It's just that this station is huge, and all the corridors look the same, and the signs are in languages I can't read. Plus, I'm pretty sure I walked through at least 3 different gravity fields on my way here, which was cool but really disorienting. To Elena's surprise, a ripple of laughter spread through the chamber. Even Son's form seemed to soften slightly. "I see," the Arbiter said. "And tell me, Dave Wilson of Earth, what is your function as technical support?" Dave brightened. "Oh, I keep all our systems running smoothly. Computers, communications, you name it. I actually just finished upgrading our universal translators to better handle non-verbal communication cues. Should make these meetings a lot easier for everyone." This caught the attention of several delegates. Ambassador Zilks's gelatinous form rippled with interest. "You can interpret non-verbal cues across species?" he asked. "Well, we're working on it," Dave replied. "It's tricky, but we've made some good progress. For example, I can tell that you're intrigued right now because your surface tension has decreased by about 3%, allowing for more complex wave patterns in your outer membrane." Zilks vibrated with surprise. "Extraordinary. How did you discern that?" Dave shrugged. "I pay attention. Plus, I've been studying all the species data we have access to. Figured it might come in handy." Elena watched in amazement as the atmosphere in the room shifted. What had started as a potential diplomatic crisis was turning into an impromptu cultural exchange. Delegates were crowding around Dave, peppering him with questions about human technology and social customs. Supreme Arbiter Xon raised a crystalline appendage, silencing the excited chatter. "It seems," he said, his tone thoughtful, "that we have much to learn from our new human friends. Perhaps this interruption was fortuitous after all." He turned to Elena. "Ambassador Rodriguez, I believe we should amend the day's agenda. I propose we begin with an open forum, allowing for a more informal exchange of ideas." Elena bowed, hardly daring to believe their luck. "We would be honored, Supreme Arbiter." As the chamber rearranged itself for the impromptu session, Elena pulled Dave aside. "I don't know whether to thank you or fire you," she hissed. Dave grinned sheepishly. "Sorry about barging in like that. But hey, it worked out okay, right?" Elena shook her head, a reluctant smile tugging at her lips. "Just try not to get lost again." And Dave, "Yes, Ambassador. When we get back to Earth, remind me to recommend you for a promotion." As they rejoined the eager delegates, Elena marveled at the turn of events. They had come to the Galactic Council hoping to prove humanity's worth through careful diplomacy and rehearsed speeches. Instead, it was Dave's bumbling authenticity and genuine curiosity that had captured the aliens' interest. Perhaps, she reflected, this was the true strength of humanity, not our carefully cultivated image, but our ability to adapt, to connect, and to turn even our mistakes into opportunities. The first contact fumble had become a first contact breakthrough, and as Elena prepared to address the assembled galactic delegates, she felt a surge of pride and hope for humanity's place among the stars. Linguistic leap. In the weeks following Dave's accidental diplomatic triumph, the human delegation found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of interspecies curiosity. Elena Rodriguez, still adjusting to humanity's newfound popularity, stood before a holographic display in the Galactic Council's primary research hub, surrounded by an eclectic group of alien linguists and xenanthropologists. "As you can see," she explained, gesturing to the swirling symbols and sound waves on the display, "human languages are incredibly diverse. We have over 7,000 distinct languages on Earth, each with its own unique structure and cultural context." Ambassador Zilks of the Silicon Collective undulated with excitement, his gelatinous form shimmering in the soft light of the research hub. "Fascinating. But how do you maintain cohesion as a species with such linguistic fragmentation?" Elena smiled. "It's not always easy, but we developed numerous strategies for overcoming language barriers. Translation technology, like the universal translators we use here, is just one approach." From the back of the room, a gravelly voice spoke up. "Technology is a crutch. True understanding comes from immersion and adaptation. The assembled aliens parted to reveal General Fax, the imposing Kin military attaché. Elena tensed, remembering that awkward encounter before the council meeting. The Xin were known for their martial culture and disdain for what they perceived as weakness. General Fax, Elena acknowledged with a nod. While technology certainly plays a crucial role, I agree that immersion is invaluable. In fact, many humans dedicate years to learning multiple languages, often living among different cultures to gain deeper understanding. Fax's whiskers twitched, a gesture Elena had learned indicated skepticism. Pretty words, Ambassador. But can your species truly adapt to forms of communication utterly alien to your own? Before Elena could respond, an alarm blared through the research hub. Red lights flashed as a computerized voice echoed through the space. Alert. Critical malfunction in primary communication array. All non-essential personnel evacuate immediately. Chaos erupted as panicked aliens rushed for the exits. Elena stood her ground, looking to the Galactic Council's chief technician, a spindly, multi-limbed being named 6-2. "What's happening?" she demanded. 6-2's appendages flew over a control panel. "The primary communication array is destabilizing. If we can't restore functionality, we'll lose contact with half the galaxy." Elena's mind raced. The communication array was the lifeline of the Galactic Council, allowing for instantaneous communication across vast distances. Its loss would be catastrophic. "What can we do to help?" she asked. 6-2's eye stalks swiveled towards her. "Unless you have expertise in quantum entanglement and psychic resonance fields, I'm not sure." "Did someone say quantum entanglement?" Dave's voice cut through the commotion as he squeezed through the thinning crowd, a toolkit slung over his shoulder. Elena had never been so glad to see the bumbling IT technician. "Dave, what are you doing here?" He shrugged. "I was upgrading some systems nearby when I heard the alarm. Figured you might need a hand." 6-2 eyed Dave skeptically. "This is highly advanced technology, far beyond." Yeah, Dave interrupted, already moving towards the main control panel. "Quantum entanglement, psychic resonance, probably some tachyon emitters in the mix. Basic stuff. Mind if I take a look?" Before anyone could object, Dave had pried open an access panel and was elbow-deep in a tangle of glowing circuitry. Elena held her breath, acutely aware of the aliens watching with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Huh," Dave muttered. "Looks like the psychic resonance field is out of alignment, probably from that solar flare last week. If we can just—" He trailed off, fully absorbed in his work. Minutes ticked by, the tension in the room growing with each passing moment. Suddenly, the alarms fell silent, and the red emergency lights faded. The holographic displays flickered back to life, showing a stable communication network. Dave emerged from the access panel, his face smudged with some iridescent lubricant. "There we go, should be good as new. Might want to install some better shielding against solar radiation, though. I can draw up some specs if you'd like." The room erupted in cheers. 6-2's eye stalks were practically tied in knots as he tried to process what had just happened. "But how? Our best technicians have been trying to solve this issue for cycles." Dave shrugged. "Sometimes you just need a fresh perspective. Plus, your system isn't that different from the old quantum computer I used to maintain back on Earth. Just had to think of the psychic resonance field like a really fancy Wi-Fi signal." Elena beamed with pride, but her celebration was cut short by a low growl. General Fax pushed through the crowd, his feline eyes fixed on Dave. "You," the Xin rumbled. "You claim to understand this technology. Explain it. Now." Dave blinked, taken aback by the alien's intensity. "Oh, well, it's pretty simple, really. You've got your quantum entangled particles maintaining instantaneous communication across vast distances, right? But to interpret and transmit complex data, you need a psychic resonance field to interface with different species' brainwaves. The problem was that the field had gotten out of sync, probably due to some kind of external interference. I just have to realign it and boost the signal's strength." He paused, then added with a grin, "It's kind of like tuning an old radio, but instead of music, you're tuning into the collective thoughts of the galaxy." Elena held her breath, waiting for the Xin's reaction. To her amazement, General Thax threw back his head and let out a roaring laugh. "By the whiskers of the first pride," he exclaimed, "you humans continue to surprise me. Perhaps there is more to your species than I first thought." The tension in the room dissipated, replaced by a buzz of excited conversation. Aliens of all species crowded around Dave, eager to learn more about human technology and problem-solving methods. As Elena watched the impromptu cultural exchange unfold, she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to find Ambassador Zilks quivering beside her. Ambassador Rodriguez, the Silicon Collective representative, said, "I believe I owe you an apology. When your species first joined the Galactic Council, many of us doubted your readiness. But you've proven yourselves to be not just adaptable, but innovative in ways we never expected." Elena smiled warmly. "Thank you, Ambassador. We still have much to learn, but we're eager to contribute what we can to the galactic community." As the day wound down and the excitement began to ebb, Elena found a quiet moment to speak with Dave. "You know," she said, "when you first stumbled into that council meeting, I thought you might single-handedly destroy humanity's chances in the galaxy. Now, I'm starting to think you might be our secret weapon." Dave chuckled. "No, I'm just a guy who likes figuring out how things work. But I've been thinking, maybe we could set up some kind of exchange program. Get more humans out here learning about alien tech and bring some of these folks back to Earth to see how we do things. Could be pretty cool." Elena's eyes lit up. "Dave, that's brilliant. An interstellar cultural and technological exchange program. I'll propose it to the council first thing tomorrow." As they looked out at the stars through the research hub's massive viewport, Elena felt a swell of optimism. Humanity had taken its first fumbling steps onto the galactic stage, but with each challenge, they were finding their footing. The linguistic leap had become a leap of understanding, bridging gaps not just of language, but of culture and technology. And as the Milky Way spiraled before them, Elena knew that this was just the beginning of humanity's grand adventure among the stars. Technological tango. The Galactic Council's grand amphitheater buzzed with anticipation. Delegates from across the cosmos had gathered for the unveiling of Project Harmony, a joint human-alien initiative born from Dave's impromptu suggestion of an exchange program. At the center of the stage stood an imposing piece of machinery, the resonance engine, a device designed to revolutionize interspecies communication and understanding. Elena Rodriguez, now sporting the insignia of Earth's chief diplomat to the Galactic Council, stepped up to the podium. Beside her stood 6-2, the Council's head technician, and somewhat surprisingly, General Thax of the Xin. "Esteemed delegates," Elena began, her voice carrying across the hushed chamber, "today marks a new chapter in galactic cooperation. The resonance engine before you is the culmination of 6 months of intense collaboration between humanity and our alien partners." She gestured to the hulking machine behind her. It resembled a hybrid between a quantum computer and a meditation chamber, pulsing with soft, multicolored light. "This device," she continued, "will allow for unprecedented levels of empathic and cognitive sharing across species. It has the potential to eliminate misunderstandings, foster deeper connections, and unlock the collective wisdom of the galaxy." A murmur of excitement rippled through the audience. Elena nodded to 6-2, who stepped forward, his many limbs gesticulating enthusiastically. The resonance engine utilizes a combination of quantum entanglement, psychic amplification, and neural interface technology, the alien technician explained. It can map and translate the thought patterns of any sentient species, allowing for direct mind-to-mind communication. General Thax growled in agreement, his tail swishing behind him. "As a warrior, I was skeptical of this project, but having experienced the prototype myself, I can attest to its power. It allowed me to truly understand the human concept of empathy for the first time. The audience broke into appreciative applause. Elena beamed with pride. This was the moment they had all been working towards, a true breakthrough in interspecies relations. And now, she announced, we will demonstrate the resonance engine's capabilities. We've selected volunteers from various species to participate in the first public test. If successful, this technology will be made available to all members of the Galactic Council. As the volunteers made their way to the stage, a commotion erupted near the back of the amphitheater. Elena squinted against the bright lights, trying to make out the source of the disturbance. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out. "Wait, stop the test." Dave Wilson, looking disheveled and out of breath, burst through the crowd and sprinted towards the stage. Security drones moved to intercept him, but Elena waved them off. "Dave, what's going on?" she asked, her stomach knotting with anxiety. The last time Dave had interrupted a major event, it had worked out in their favor, but lightning rarely struck twice. Dave skidded to a halt at the foot of the stage, panting heavily. "The engine," he gasped. "There's a problem with the neural interface. If you activate it now, it could cause irreversible damage to the participants' minds." A shocked silence fell over the amphitheater, followed by an eruption of concerned chatter. Elena fought to maintain her composure as she addressed the crowd. "Please, everyone remain calm. We take safety very seriously and will investigate this claim immediately." She turned to 6-2, keeping her voice low. "Is this possible? Could we have missed something this critical?" The alien technician's eye stalks drooped in distress. I don't know. We ran every test we could think of, but the integration of human and alien technology is so new, it's possible we overlooked something." General Thax growled, his claws extending. "If this human has endangered our people with his reckless ideas—" "Now hold on," Dave interjected, having caught his breath. "I didn't say it couldn't be fixed. I just need access to the engine's core systems. I think I know what the problem is." Elena hesitated. The eyes of the galaxy were upon them. If Dave was wrong, or if he couldn't fix the issue, humanity's reputation could be irreparably damaged. But if he was right and they ignored his warning— "Do it," she decided, "but quickly. We owe our audience an explanation." As Dave and 6-2 huddled around the resonance engine, Elena returned to the podium to address the increasingly restless crowd. "Distinguished delegates, we apologize for the delay. A potential safety concern has been brought to our attention, and we are addressing it immediately. Your well-being is our highest priority." The next hour was the longest of Elena's life. She fielded questions from worried delegates, soothed ruffled feathers, sometimes literally, and tried to project an aura of calm confidence she didn't entirely feel. All the while, Dave and 6-2 worked feverishly on the engine, their urgent whispers and the occasional spark or puff of smoke doing little to ease her nerves. Finally, Dave emerged from behind the machine, his face smudged with some bioluminescent fluid, but wearing a triumphant grin. "Fixed it," he announced, giving Elena a thumbs up. Turns out the neural interface was calibrated for standard human and alien brainwave patterns. It wasn't accounting for the natural variations within species, or for individuals with non-standard neural architecture. 6-2's eye stalks bobbed in agreement. Indeed, the engine would have functioned perfectly for about 70% of users, but for the rest, it could have caused significant neural disruption. Thanks to Dave's insight, we've now implemented a self-calibrating system that can adapt to any user's unique mental patterns. Elena let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "So it's safe now. We can proceed with the demonstration." Dave nodded enthusiastically. "Safer than ever. In fact, this upgrade has actually improved its overall functionality. You're gonna love this." With a mixture of relief and renewed excitement, Elena turned back to the audience. "Thank you all for your patience. I'm pleased to announce that not only has the concern been addressed, but the resonance engine has been improved in the process. We are now ready to proceed with the demonstration. The volunteers, a diverse group representing a dozen different species, approached the engine with a mix of trepidation and curiosity. As they took their positions around the device, Dave initiated the startup sequence. The resonance engine hummed to life, its pulsing lights growing brighter. The volunteers closed their eyes, their faces reflecting a range of emotions: concentration, surprise, wonder. For several long moments, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, smiles began to spread across the faces of the participants. Tears streamed down the cheeks of a stoic Vulcan elder. A Xin warrior purred contentedly. A crystalline Folian chimed with joy. When the demonstration ended, the volunteers were reluctant to disconnect. They embraced one another, laughing and chattering excitedly in a mix of languages. One of the volunteers, a young Endorian, stepped forward to address the crowd. "It was indescribable," she said, her antennae quivering with emotion. "I didn't just understand the others, I felt what they felt. I saw through their eyes, experienced their memories. We were one, yet still ourselves. It was beautiful." The amphitheater erupted in thunderous applause. Delegates clamored for a chance to experience the resonance engine themselves. In the ensuing chaos of excitement, Elena pulled Dave aside. "You did it again," she said, shaking her head in amazement. "You know, when you first showed up today, I thought we were doomed. I should know better by now than to doubt you." Dave shrugged, looking embarrassed. "I just noticed something off in the calibration algorithms. Anyone could have spotted it." "But they didn't," Elena pointed out. "You did. Your unique perspective, your ability to think outside the box. That's exactly why this exchange program is so valuable." As they watched the joyous crowd, a thought struck Elena. "Dave, how did you know there was a problem? You weren't part of the core development team." Dave rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly looking sheepish. "Well, funny story. I was actually here to fix the cafeteria's replicators, but I got a little turned around, you know how I am with directions, and ended up in a restricted lab. I saw the engine's schematics and noticed the calibration issue. Figured it was better to barge in and look like an idiot than risk people getting hurt." Elena laughed, a full, hearty laugh that released all the tension of the day. "Oh, Dave, never change." As the successful demonstration of the resonance engine ushered in a new era of interspecies understanding, Elena couldn't help but reflect on the strange, wonderful journey that had brought them to this point. A series of happy accidents and near disasters, all turning out for the best thanks to human ingenuity, adaptability, and a hefty dose of luck. The technological tango had been fraught with missteps, but in the end, humanity and their alien partners had created something truly revolutionary. And as Elena watched Dave being swarmed by curious aliens eager to pick his brain, she knew that this was only the beginning of what they could accomplish together. The galaxy, it seemed, wasn't ready for humanity. But humanity, in all its brilliant, bumbling glory, was more than ready for the galaxy. Cosmic crisis. The success of the resonance engine had catapulted humanity into a new era of galactic prominence. In the months that followed, humans and aliens worked side by side on countless joint projects, pushing the boundaries of science and culture. Elena Rodriguez, now a senior diplomat on the Galactic Council, found herself busier than ever, mediating disputes and fostering cooperation between diverse species. But as Elena was about to discover, not everyone in the galaxy welcomed this new age of unity and understanding. The day began like any other on the massive space station that served as the Galactic Council's headquarters. Elena was in her office, reviewing reports on a new terraforming initiative, when her comm unit chimed urgently. "Ambassador Rodriguez," the voice of her aide crackled through the speaker, "you're needed in the emergency session chamber immediately. It's bad." Elena's heart raced as she hurried through the station's winding corridors. The emergency session chamber was only used in times of dire crisis. What could have happened? As she entered the chamber, she was struck by the palpable tension in the air. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy huddled in small groups, their voices a low, worried murmur. At the center of the room, Supreme Arbiter Xon's crystalline form pulsed with an ominous red glow. "Arbiter," Elena said, approaching cautiously. "What's going on?" Fung turned to her, his faceted surface reflecting a kaleidoscope of worried faces. "Ambassador Rodriguez, I'm afraid we face a threat unlike any the galaxy has seen before." With a gesture, Xon brought up a holographic display of a distant star system. Elena watched in horror as an inky blackness spread across the hologram, engulfing planets and stars alike. "This is the Vega system," Xon explained, his voice grave. "Or rather, what's left of it. 3 days ago, it was bustling with life. Now, it's gone." Elena struggled to comprehend the scale of the destruction. Gone? But how? What could possibly? "We don't know," Xon interrupted. "Our best scientists are baffled. Whatever this phenomenon is, it defies our understanding of physics. And it's spreading." The hologram zoomed out, showing the creeping darkness extending tendrils towards neighboring systems. Elena felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the trajectory. "It's heading towards Earth," she whispered. Xon nodded sullenly. "Not just Earth. If unchecked, this entropy wave, as we're calling it, could consume the entire galaxy within a year." The chamber erupted into panic shouting as the full gravity of the situation sank in. Species that had been at each other's throats only months ago now found themselves united in terror. "Silence." Xon's voice boomed, instantly quelling the chaos. "This is no time for panic. We must pool our resources, our knowledge, if we are to have any hope of stopping this threat." Elena's mind raced. This was beyond anything they had ever faced. But humanity had a knack for thinking outside the box, for finding solutions where none seemed possible. "Supreme Arbiter," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "I'd like to propose we assemble a task force. The best minds from every species working together to understand and counter this threat." Xon's crystalline form shimmered with approval. "An excellent suggestion, Ambassador, and I believe I know just the human to lead this effort." Elena groaned internally, already knowing what was coming. "You don't mean?" "Dave Wilson," Xon confirmed. "His unorthodox approach and ability to integrate diverse technologies may be exactly what we need." As if on cue, the chamber doors burst open, and Dave stumbled in, looking bewildered. Hey everyone. Someone said there was an emergency with the coffee replicators." Elena couldn't help but smile despite the dire circumstances. Same old Dave. "Change of plans, Dave," she said, guiding him towards the central hologram. "How do you feel about saving the galaxy?" Dave's eyes widened as he took in the holographic display of the spreading entropy wave. "Whoa, that's not good. But why me? Surely there are more qualified." "There's no one more qualified to think outside the box," Elena interrupted. "And right now, that's exactly what we need." Over the next few weeks, the Galactic Council's headquarters became a hive of frenetic activity. The newly formed task force, led by an increasingly frazzled Dave, worked around the clock to unravel the mystery of the entropy wave. Elena found Dave in one of the research labs, surrounded by holograms, scattered datapads, and a diverse team of alien scientists. His hair stuck up at odd angles, and he clutched a mug of something that smelled potent enough to fuel a starship. "Any progress?" Elena asked, trying to keep the desperation out of her voice. The entropy wave had already consumed 3 more star systems. Dave ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "Maybe. We've got a theory, but it's pretty out there." He gestured to a holographic model of swirling energies. "We think the entropy wave is actually a side effect of some kind of massive interdimensional experiment. Someone or something is trying to punch a hole through the fabric of space-time, and our universe is unraveling as a result." Elena blinked, trying to process this. "Okay, so how do we stop it?" "Well, that's the tricky part," Dave said, grimacing. "We need to find the source of the disturbance and plug the hole, so to speak. But to do that, we'd need to navigate through the entropy wave itself, which is impossible, one of the alien scientists, a blue-skinned Andorian, chimed in. Any matter that touches the wave is instantly broken down to its constituent atoms. Dave held up a finger, a glimmer of his old enthusiasm shining through his exhaustion. Not necessarily impossible, just really, really difficult. I've got an idea, but it's going to sound crazy. Elena smiled wryly. Dave, at this point, crazy is all we've got. What's your idea? We repurpose the resonance engine, Dave said, pulling up schematics of the device. Instead of using it to link minds, we use it to link with the fabric of space-time itself. We create a bubble of, well, let's call it reality integrity, that can withstand the entropy wave. The lab erupted into a cacophony of objections and excited theorizing. Elena held up a hand, silencing the room. Dave, are you sure this can work? Dave met her gaze, his expression a mix of determination and fear. Honestly? No, but it's the best shot we've got. Elena nodded, making a decision. Then do it. Whatever resources you need, you've got them. Just hurry. As she left the lab, Elena felt the weight of countless lives resting on her shoulders. They were about to attempt the impossible, risking everything on a desperate gamble. But as she glanced back at Dave, already deep in discussion with his team, she felt a glimmer of hope. If anyone could pull off a miracle, it was humanity's most unlikely hero. The fate of the galaxy now rested in the hands of a man who still occasionally got lost on his way to the cafeteria. And somehow, that thought was strangely comforting. Battle of wits. The modified resonance engine hummed ominously as final preparations were made. The massive device, once a symbol of interspecies unity, had been transformed into humanity's last hope against the encroaching entropy wave. A small, heavily shielded ship had been outfitted with the technology, ready to plunge into the heart of the cosmic anomaly. Elena stood in the launch bay, surrounded by a tense crowd of human and alien onlookers. Dave, clad in a specially designed containment suit, was going through last-minute checks with his diverse crew. Zixtara, a tentacled illithid scientist. Krog, a burly kin engineer. And Tilana, a stoic Vulcan pilot. Are you sure about this, Dave? Elena asked, unable to keep the worry from her voice. It's not too late to send someone else. Dave looked up from his checklist, his face pale, but determined behind the suit's faceplate. It has to be me, Elena. I know this tech better than anyone. Besides, someone's got to be there to improvise and things inevitably go wrong. Elena nodded, swallowing hard. Just come back in one piece, okay? The galaxy's not ready to lose its favorite bumbling hero. Dave grinned, some of his old spark returning. Hey, I haven't gotten lost once this week. That's got to count for something, right? As the crew boarded their ship, dubbed the Reality Surfer by Dave in a moment of sleep-deprived inspiration, Elena retreated to the observation deck. The vast starfield before her was marred by an encroaching darkness that seemed to devour light itself. Supreme Arbiter Xon materialized beside her, his crystalline form pulsing with nervous energy. They're our last hope, he said softly. If this fails. It won't, Elena said with more confidence than she felt. If there's one thing I've learned about humanity, it's that we're at our best when the odds are impossible. The Reality Surfer launched, a tiny speck of light against the looming void. Elena and Son watched in tense silence as the ship approached the edge of the entropy wave. For a moment, it seemed to hesitate, then plunged forward. We've lost visual contact, a technician announced, switching to quantum entanglement communications. Dave's voice crackled through the speakers, distorted but audible. We're in. It's incredible in here. Like reality itself is unraveling around us. The resonance engine is holding, but barely. We're proceeding towards the source of the disturbance. For what felt like hours, the observation deck was filled with a tense silence. broken only by Dave's occasional status updates and the frantic tapping of technicians at their consoles. Suddenly, Dave's voice came through, excited and terrified in equal measure. "We found it. There's some kind of machine, I guess you call it. Massive. Like nothing I've ever seen. It's definitely not from our universe. Can you shut it down?" Elena asked, leaning towards the comm unit. "Working on it," Dave replied. "The architecture is bizarre, but there's a logic to it. Give me a few." "Oh no." Helena's heart skipped a beat. "Dave, what's happening?" "We're not alone." Dave's voice was hushed. "There's something here, watching us. I don't think it's happy we're messing with its toy." The next few minutes were chaos. The comm unit exploded with a cacophony of shouts, strange inhuman screeching, and the ominous sound of tearing metal. "Dave," Elena shouted, "get out of there." "No." Dave's voice was strained but determined. "We're too close. I think I can." The comm unit went dead. Elena stared at the silent speakers in horror. Around her, aliens of every species held their breath, united in their fear and hope. Minutes ticked by with no word from the reality surfer. The entropy wave continued its relentless advance, now visibly closer than when the mission had begun. Just as despair began to set in, a technician shouted, "Look." All eyes turned to the viewport. At the heart of the entropy wave, a point of light had appeared. It grew rapidly, pushing back the darkness. Stars reappeared, galaxies reformed. The comm unit crackled to life. Did it work? Dave's exhausted voice came through. "Please tell me that worked, because I really don't want to do that again." The observation deck erupted in cheers. Aliens of all species embraced, their differences forgotten in the joy of survival. Elena laughed and cried at the same time, relief washing over her in waves. As the reality surfer limped back to the station, Elena met them in the docking bay. The ship looked like it had been through a war, its hull scared and warped in impossible ways. The airlock hissed open, and Dave stumbled out, supported by Krog and Six Tara. Tilana followed, looking as unflappable as ever despite a nasty gash on her forehead. "You did it," Elena said, helping Dave to a nearby bench. "You saved us all." Dave managed a weak grin. "All in a day's work. Though I might need a vacation after this one. Maybe a nice, quiet planet with no interdimensional horrors." As medical teams swarmed the returned heroes, Elena turned to Supreme Arbiter Xon. "Well, Arbiter, what do you think of humanity now?" Xon's crystalline form shimmered with what Elena had learned to recognize as amusement. "I think, Ambassador Rodriguez, that the galaxy is in for some very interesting times with your species around. Terrifying, certainly, but interesting." Elena laughed. "I'll take that as a compliment." As the celebration began in earnest, Elena couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. From accidental diplomacy to saving reality itself, humanity had proven its worth 1,000 times over. The battle of wits against an incomprehensible foe had been won, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through human ingenuity, adaptability, and a hefty dose of what Dave liked to call seat-of-your-pants problem-solving. As she watched Dave regaling a group of awestruck aliens with his tale of interdimensional daring-do, Elena knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders and terrors alike, but with humans in the mix, she had a feeling things were about to get a whole lot more interesting. And maybe, just maybe, a little bit safer too. Unity in diversity. In the months following the defeat of the entropy wave, the galactic community underwent a profound transformation. The shared experience of narrowly avoiding annihilation had fostered a new spirit of cooperation and understanding among the diverse species of the Milky Way. And at the center of it all, somewhat to their own surprise, were the humans. Elena Rodriguez stood on the grand balcony of the newly constructed Galactic Unity Center, a massive structure that floated serenely in space, visible from a dozen nearby star systems. Below her, delegates from hundreds of worlds milled about, preparing for the upcoming ceremony. Quite a view, isn't it? Dave Wilson sidled up beside her, looking uncharacteristically dapper in a formal uniform adorned with medals from a dozen different species. Elena smiled, still not entirely used to seeing Dave as the galaxy's most celebrated hero. It's incredible. I never thought I'd see anything like this in my lifetime. Dave nodded, his expression uncharacteristically serious. You know, when I first stumbled into that council meeting all those months ago, I thought I'd ruined everything. Now look at us. Intergalactic peace, technological breakthroughs left and right, and I haven't gotten lost in at least a week. Elena laughed, feeling a swell of affection for her bumbling friend. Don't sell yourself short, Dave. Your unique perspective is exactly what the galaxy needed. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Supreme Arbiter Xon, his crystalline form gleaming in the starlight. It's time, he announced, his tone formal but tinged with excitement. Elena took a deep breath, straightening her diplomatic robes. This was the moment they had all been working towards. The trio made their way to the central amphitheater, where representatives from every known sentient species in the galaxy had gathered. The buzz of conversation in 100 different languages died down as Elena took the stage. Friends, allies, fellow sentients, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the advanced acoustics. We stand here today not just as survivors of a great calamity, but as architects of a new era of galactic cooperation. She gestured to the diverse crowd before her. Look around you. See the incredible tapestry of life that our galaxy has produced. Each of us unique, each with our own strengths, our own perspectives. It is that very diversity that saved us all from oblivion. Elena paused, letting her words sink in. The entropy wave taught us a valuable lesson. United, there is no challenge we cannot overcome. Divided, we risk losing everything. That is why today, we inaugurate the Galactic Unity Council, a new body dedicated to fostering cooperation, understanding, and mutual growth among all sentient species. Cheers erupted from the audience. Elena waited for the applause to die down before continuing. But this council is just the beginning. Today, we also unveil our most ambitious project yet, the Harmony Network. At her cue, a massive hologram sprang to life above the amphitheater. It showed a web of interconnected points of light, spanning the entire galaxy. The Harmony Network, Elena explained, is the next evolution of the resonance engine technology, a galaxy-wide system that will allow for instantaneous communication, cultural exchange, and collaborative problem-solving on an unprecedented scale. With this network, distance will no longer be a barrier to understanding. Ideas will flow freely across the stars, sparking innovations we can scarcely imagine. She turned to Dave, gesturing for him to join her on stage. And who better to lead this initiative than the man whose unique perspective has saved us all time and time again? I present to you the first Director of Galactic Innovations, Dave Wilson. The amphitheater erupted in thunderous applause. Dave stepped forward, looking both honored and slightly terrified. Thanks everyone, he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. I'm not much for fancy speeches, but I promise to do my best to keep the galaxy running smoothly. And if I can't figure something out, I'm sure one of you can. That's the beauty of working together, right? His simple, honest words seemed to resonate with the crowd even more than Elena's formal address. Aliens of all shapes and sizes cheered, some even chanting Dave's name. As the ceremony continued, with representatives from each species pledging their commitment to the new era of unity, Elena found herself reflecting on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. From a simple misunderstanding in a locker room to saving reality itself, humanity had proven time and again that their greatest strength lay not in advanced technology or military might, but in their adaptability, creativity, and unflagging optimism in the face of impossible odds. The galaxy, it seemed, had been forever changed by the arrival of these strange, unpredictable beings from a small blue planet in an unremarkable star system. And while challenges undoubtedly lay ahead, Elena couldn't help but feel that with humans in the mix, the future of the galaxy looked brighter than ever. As the ceremony drew to a close, the assembled delegates raised their voices and various appendages in a unified cheer that seemed to shake the very stars. In that moment, Elena knew that they had achieved something truly remarkable. They had taken the first steps towards a future where the incredible diversity of galactic life was not a source of conflict, but a wellspring of strength and innovation. The unity in diversity that they celebrated today was more than just a lofty ideal. It was a living, breathing reality embodied in the connections forged between species that might never have understood each other without humanity's bumbling, brilliant intervention. As Elena looked out at the sea of alien faces, all shining with hope and excitement for the future, she couldn't help but smile. The galaxy would never be the same again. And that, she decided, was a very good thing indeed. With the Harmony Network connecting minds across the cosmos and the spirit of cooperation kindled by their shared trials, who knew what wonders awaited them in the vast, star-studded expanse of the universe? Whatever challenges lay ahead, Elena was certain of one thing: together, there was nothing they couldn't achieve. The future, bright with the light of countless stars and the combined brilliance of 1,000 civilizations, stretched out before them. And humanity, once a tiny, isolated speck in the cosmic ocean, now stood proudly at the forefront of this new age of galactic harmony. It was, Elena reflected as she joined hands, and tentacles and pincers, with her alien colleagues, one hell of a first contact story. And the best part, their grand adventure among the stars was only just beginning.